Hello detectives, and welcome to my video for August. Now I have a special helper with me today for this video. I have my dog Howl on my lap. He really wanted to get involved, and I am filming this as my very last video for this year. I am about to go on maternity leave. I am going at the end of this week if you are watching this video when it first comes out, and I will not be back until February 2022. I did promise you in my last video though that before I went off I would give you some recommendations. I would tell you some books that I have loved reading recently and that I think you would love as well. While you're waiting for me to return, while you are waiting for the Ministry of Unladylike Activity, which of course is my next book that comes out in 2022. I suspect that a lot of you will have already read my newest book, Once Upon a Crime, my book of murder most unladylike short stories that came out on the 5th of August this year. I always find it so funny that it takes me almost a year to write a book, that I spend months and months and months working and reworking away at a story or stories, and then my readers can read them in just 24 hours or less. It's both wonderful because it means you've been really excited and you are really enjoying the book, and a bit upsetting because you read so much faster than I could ever write. But I know it is a very good thing. So here for this month, for the last time in 2021, here are my book recommendations for you, some things that I have read and that I think you will enjoy as well. The first book I'm recommending to you is by an author that I've talked about on here before. Her name is Elle Mcnichol, and her first book, her debut, A Kind of Spark, was one of my picks last year. This year, it has gone on to win the overall Waterstones Children's Book Prize 2021, so obviously a lot of other people agree with me that she is a fantastic writer. And now I am back recommending her second book, Show Us Who You Are. This book is clearly by the same person who wrote A Kind of Spark. You can see the same amazing writing style and the same appeal to anyone older than 8+. But this book, instead of being a contemporary realistic book, this is a slightly futuristic science fiction thriller. Show Us Who You Are is about a girl called Cora. Cora is autistic, and her older brother works for a mysterious science research facility called the Pomegranate Institute. Cora goes with him to a party hosted by the Institute's founder and becomes really mixed up in the family life of that founder. She befriends the son of the founder, Adrian, and she gets sucked into the Pomegranate Institute, which promises to be able to bring back people who have died, to create holograms of people who have died so that their loved ones can have a moment with them, who can connect to them again. They sort of feel like death is not the end for those people. Cora has suffered a loss, and she loves the idea of these holograms. She loves the idea of getting to talk to her loved one again. But as the book goes on, she realizes there is more to the Pomegranate Institute than meets the eye, and what seems like a really generous and wonderful initiative might actually be something that has a lot of really negative repercussions for Cora and for Adrian and for a lot of other people. This really is a fantastic book. It had me guessing all the way through. I raced through it. I really, really enjoyed it. I just love the way Elle writes. And now I am very excited about her next book, whatever it's going to be. I love how versatile she is as an author. I love her protagonists. They're so different. Addie from A Kind of Spark is very different to Cora. They're very distinct personalities, but they're both so wonderfully written. So I would absolutely recommend Show Us Who You Are and Elle's first book, A Kind of Spark, and just Elle generally as an author. She interviewed me for a recent Waterstones event to celebrate Once Upon a Crime, and we had a great time with that. So hopefully soon you'll be able to watch that video. It's going to be up on YouTube in the next few weeks, so do look out for that as something else you can do while I'm away. The next book that I have chosen to recommend to you is also a science fiction ebook for 8+ readers, but this book has its science fiction with a very magical tinge to it. And it is Amari and the Night Brothers by Bibi, Alston. Now, this book that I'm holding here does not look like the finished copy, the finished covers that you will see in stores, and that is actually what it looks like in the UK. I have this because it is a proof, it is a very early copy that the publisher sent to me last year. Amari actually first came out in January this year, and it has just come out in paperback in August. It is currently the Waterstones Children's Book of the Month. And by showing you this proof, this is the first time I've talked to you about it. You can see how slow I have been to read this year, how much I have struggled to read and recommend things to you because of all the things that are going on in my life. But I am finally talking about Amari and the Night Brothers by Bibi Alston because I think it is absolutely fantastic. It is the story of Amari, a girl who has quite an unhappy life at the beginning of the book. Her brother has gone missing. She goes to a really posh school in America. She's one of the only Black kids there, and she's being really bullied by the other children. She goes home one evening in absolute despair, and when she goes home, she gets a message from her missing brother. It turns out that what she thought had happened to him is not the truth at all. He has spent years being mixed up with this magical institute, this magical place that goes hunting mysterious creatures and stopping magical phenomena all over the world. And he has gone missing, but in the pursuit of one of these cases, one of these magical, mysterious cases. And now Amari has the chance to join the same institute that her brother was part of and see whether she can work out what happened to him. And that is the premise, the beginning of this story. And this is the first book in what's going to be a series of books. I absolutely loved this story. It reads like a mix of Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, sort of magic and intrigue, and a main character whose magic is a bit dangerous, a bit worrying, a bit of a problem to the other people who surround them. It's also a lot like a series of films that I used to love when I was younger called the Men in Black franchise, which there was a new one a couple years ago. It's got that sort of sci-fi element. It's got kind of mysterious creatures, werewolves and dragons and aliens and things like that. It's a school story. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about magic. It's got lots of puzzles and trials in it that I absolutely loved. It just ticks all of my fantasy and science fiction reading boxes, and I really think that you will love it as well. As I say, it is currently in the UK the Waterstones Children's Book of the Month, so you will not be able to miss it if you go into a Waterstones store, and the cover looks like that. So go and get your hands on Amari and the Night Brothers by Bibi Alston before the second book comes out next spring, and hopefully I'll be reading that a bit quicker than I managed to read this one. The next pick that I have for you is also a book for 8+, but it is not science fiction, it is not fantasy, it is historical murder mystery. And this is The Secret Detectives by Elle Risbridger. This is another proof that I only managed to read very recently, and it is a story that I absolutely loved. I know a lot of you have read all of my books by now, and you're always asking me, what can I read if I loved Murder Most Unladylike? And I say Sharna Jackson, I say Catherine Woodfine, I say Ellie Griffiths, and now I can say Elle Risbridger as well. This book is set before mine. It's set at the end of the Victorian era, and it is a little bit based on The Secret Garden, the very beginning of The Secret Garden. Now, The Secret Garden obviously has a protagonist who is very unpleasant, and she is born in India. She travels to the UK, and that is where all the adventures happen. But this book is sort of imagining what would happen if a girl like that, somebody who is quite mean and unpleasant and just didn't really connect with the rest of the world, had an adventure on the boat on the way to England, made some friends, learnt about the world, learnt some things about herself, and learnt to be a little less cross about everything. That is what The Secret Detectives is. But you don't have to have ever read The Secret Garden, even know anything about it, because this book totally stands on its own. There are three main characters, Isabel, Letty, and Sam, and they make the most fantastic group of young detectives, solving a murder that seems to be impossible. One night, they see one mysterious figure on deck of the ship they're traveling on, pushing another mysterious figure into the sea. They have to work out who died, who's missing from the ship, and who killed them. They have to do it really quickly before the boat gets to its destination. It's a really fast-paced, exciting adventure. It's beautifully written. Elle is a fantastic writer. She is a poet. She has written cookbooks in the past. She is very versatile. It is incredible how she manages to write so many different genres so well. But this is her first children's book, and I really loved it. I think you will as well. It's got a very satisfying mystery. It's very solvable. It's very interesting. It's got great detective characters. And I am hoping that there will be a lot more detective stories from Elle in the future. So this is my pick of great new murder mysteries for kids publishing this year. The Secret Detectives by Elle Risbridger, and it is out everywhere from Nosy Crow. My next pick is a book that I think you will really like if you are one of the people who has loved my series but now feels maybe a little bit too old for it, who wants to start moving into more complex YA narratives that are also mysteries, thrillers, sort of murder mysteries like that. I have talked on here before about Holly Jackson. I think she is absolutely fantastic. Her third book just came out exactly the same day as my Once Upon a Crime came out, and I had it on pre-order, and it's going to be arriving really soon, and I will be reading that. But until I do, I have another book to recommend to you, a book that I read last month and I really enjoyed, and I think you will too. And it is Ace of Spades by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé. Now, Ace of Spades is a story set in a very posh secondary school in the US. It follows two different people, Chiamaka and Devon, who are the two people on the cover here. They narrate the book. When the story starts, they seem to be on top of the world. They're at the beginning of their final year at school, and they have both been given positions of real privilege and power. And they think that everything is going great. But the minute that that happens, something else starts happening. Somebody starts targeting them, bullying them, revealing all of their secrets to the world. They really start knocking down everything that they thought they knew about themselves, or their reputation, and they have to work out what is going on as quickly as possible before their lives are destroyed, before their families, their loved ones' lives are destroyed. So it's a very fast-paced, exciting, engaging and frightening thriller with really, really high stakes. I would say this really is a whodunit in terms of who is doing this to Devon and Chiamaka, but it's also a whodunit. There's a lot in here about race and racism, about the invisible prejudices that are built up in communities like Devon and Chiamaka's, even when they might think that they're not really operating. This has a really exciting and shocking ending that I've seen a lot of people talking about online. So I think if you're looking for a very engaging, very thought-provoking, very exciting thriller, you cannot go wrong with reading Ace of Spades. I know that Faridah is also a big fan of US dramas like Gossip Girl, so if you also love Gossip Girl or shows like it, you will really like this book. I would say this is for anybody 12-13 plus who loves thrillers, loves whodunits and mysteries. This is the one for you. My final pick for this video is also a YA novel, but this one is high fantasy. It's the beginning of a really exciting new YA fantasy series, and it is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Now this book I think is for slightly older readers, maybe 14, 15 plus, and it is the story of Decca. Now Decca lives in a world where purity in women is absolutely everything. Every woman, when she is about 14, 15, is subjected to a purity test. Her skin is cut, and if she bleeds red, she is a normal woman, and it is all fine. If she bleeds gold, though, she is one of the Gilded Ones, a terrifying, sort of almost separate race of dangerous women who have to be subdued, have to be gotten rid of. And Decca lives in fear of this ritual, this moment, as she is desperate to be pure. But unfortunately, and I'm sure you can guess, when the ritual does happen, some terrible things occur around it that reveal that Decca is, in fact, one of the Gilded Ones. But again, something goes wrong after the ritual, and instead of dying, which is what gilded ones are supposed to have happen to them, Decca is saved, she stays alive, and she's recruited by a mysterious woman to be part of an army of gilded ones, the Àbíké, who are there to protect the emperor in the middle of this empire that Decca starts off on the very edges of when we start the book. Again, nothing is as it seems, and Decca has to discover what is going on with the Àbíké, who they really are protecting, what really is behind this idea of purity and the idea of the gilded ones. Is she really a demon, or is there something else going on? It's a pretty complicated concept, but I promise you it really does unfold very easily. It's a really exciting read. It's a very engaging read. It's a very vivid and interesting world that Namina has created, and it's something that really sucks you in very, very quickly. It's extremely gory. It really does have a lot of violence in it, which is why I'm saying sort of 14, 15 to read it, just because I found some of the descriptions in it kind of upsetting, but it's definitely worth it. If you're prepared for that and you know what you're doing going in, I think you will absolutely love this story and be very excited about the next installment. I also know that this is going to be made into a film, and Namina is going to be writing it. I think she's actually a screenwriter, and this was her first novel, and I'm very, very excited about that. I think it's going to be fantastic. So The Gilded Ones is my YA fantasy pick. If you really love other really big, immersive YA trilogies, quadrilogies, this is the one for you. So that is the end of my recommendations and the end of these videos until 2022. I am looking forward to my time off, and I know it's going to fly by, and I'll be back in the spring next year to talk to you more about my next book, Ministry of Unladylike Activity, to reveal more about the characters and the world and the plot of it, to reveal the cover, the logo, everything you'll need to know before the launch of it. And I hope the next year I'll actually be able to tour in person. I'll be able to visit stores, meet fans, talk to you, give talks, do events. That is what I really, really hope. I haven't been able to do that, of course, for the last year and a half because of the pandemic. But I really do hope that when I'm back after my leave, I will be able to do that again. One more thing to say before I go is that there is something else coming out with my name on it this autumn, and that is something called the Very Merry Murder Club, which is coming out from Farshore Publisher on the 28th of October 2021. Now, this is an anthology of 13 wintry mystery stories written by 13 amazing children's authors who are working in the UK at the moment. And this is something that I co-edited with Serena Patel, who writes the amazing Anisha Accidental Detective series. And I was very, very excited to do it. It is sort of the sequel to a book that came out a few years ago called Mystery and Mayhem, and I worked on that as well, and I wrote one of the stories in it. Now, for this new book, I didn't have the time to write a story of my own because I had a lot going on this spring, as you probably know, but I helped choose the authors who were in it. There are 13 authors who I think are absolutely phenomenal. I have read and I have loved all of their stories, and I think you will love it as well. If you are a mystery fan, if you love my books, if you love winter and the holidays, this is a book that I think you're going to absolutely love. So keep an eye out for that. It is called The Very Merry Murder Club, and it is coming at the end of October, so right in time for Christmas and for the holidays. I will have lots of stuff about it up on my social media accounts. I will not be the person putting those up. I have somebody very nice who is going to be looking after my social media while I'm away, but you will see lots of announcements about that. I hope you won't be able to miss it, and I hope you buy it, and I hope you really enjoy it, and I hope that it introduces you to those 13 authors, lots of new authors who you can enjoy and engage with while I am gone. So that really is everything. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you've enjoyed those recommendations, and have a wonderful rest of 2021. Take care of yourselves, take care of others, be good and kind and thoughtful and curious, and I will be back in 2022.